Welcome to the ANEW Body Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogrammed Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. And Chantal Donnelly, physical therapist and author of Settled, How to Find Calm in a Stress-Inducing World. We follow our guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Hello and welcome to the ANEW Body Insight Podcast. I am Dr. Supatra Tovar, and I am thrilled to have the author of Brain Over Binge, acclaimed author Kathryn Hansen, with us today. Kathryn, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yay. I'm going to read a little bit about Kathryn, and then we're going to get right into our questions. Kathryn Hansen is the author of Brain Over Binge and the Brain Over Binge Recovery Guide. After recovering from bulimia in 2005, Kathryn has dedicated her life to educating and empowering individuals struggling with binge eating. She challenges conventional therapy approaches by teaching brain-based concepts to help others stop binge eating for good. Through her books, podcast, and online course, Kathryn provides practical, science-backed tools for recovery, focusing on self-empowerment without delving into emotional or psychological complexities. Welcome, Kathryn. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, I appreciate you having this conversation with me.
Yes, we got in touch with each other. Kathryn reached out to me on Instagram and followed me, and I was like, I'm so excited. I've read her book. I cannot wait. I really wanted to pick your brain, and it's very cool. We're doing a podcast swap. Kathryn's on mine, and I'm going to be on hers, and we get to pick each other's brains, which I absolutely love. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to get right into the questions I have for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So your journey with bulimia and your recovery is very inspiring. I actually heard of your book through a client of mine who was reading your book, and then I picked up your book. Can you share what initially motivated you to write Brain Over Binge?
Yeah, I wrote in Brain Over Binge that I really wrote it for my younger self when I was in college and struggling with binge eating and just really couldn't get myself to stop. I promised myself, if I can find a way out of this, I'm going to write a book to help others. And I always liked to write, so it really went with my personality and my interests. And I did find a way to recover. And it was very different from what I had learned in traditional therapy, because that's how I tried to recover through the years of having bulimia. And it just didn't work for me personally. That doesn't mean I don't think it's valuable in a lot of ways. But when I recovered and it was so different from that traditional approach, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell people about this. So it really renewed that commitment to write the book when I recovered. And I did that, and I published it in 2011. And yeah, that was really the story behind it.
Wow. And just give me a picture of, I know people really responded to this book. What do you think it was about the way that you wrote and the way that you recovered that resonated with so many people?
I think the main concept is just that you're not broken. Nothing is deeply wrong with you. That was a main thing I learned in therapy, that you have emotions you can't cope with, or you have some sort of problem from your childhood that is manifesting in binge eating, or you're struggling with all these problems like depression, anxiety, loneliness, all these different things, low self-esteem, and you have to fix all of that in order to stop this behavior of binging that's really ruining your life. So that was a path I was on for a long time, of trying to fix those other things and really thinking something was deeply, deeply wrong with me, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. And when I kind of redefined things in terms of the brain, I was able to recover rather quickly. So I think people responded to the fact of like, this isn't such a deep, deep problem. This is something that you actually can recover from in an efficient way without needing to solve all of your life's problems. So it's really a message of empowerment that kind of regardless of what's happened in your life, this is really a glitch in your brain that you can correct.
And so go into that a little bit more. you talk about kind of the primitive or the primal brain, and that being at the root of binge eating. It's similar to other habits that are formed, like smoking or drinking. How is binge eating a brain-based issue?
Yeah, I like that you brought up the primitive brain because that's a big part of what I teach. That most of the time, the first episodes of binging develop due to dieting and due to food restriction. Now, it can develop from overeating that increases over time and eventually becomes binge eating. But for now, let's stay on the path of dieting and food restriction. There's been research that shows that this creates a primitive response in your brain for survival. It's a survival mechanism that when you are food deprived, your brain is going to make food the ultimate priority. You're going to think about food more than you ever have. And anyone who has gone on a diet knows this. And it's all in that primitive brain system, that really ancient part of our brain that doesn't really have a lot of rational thought. It just senses when our survival is in danger and it motivates us to do things to help us survive. So it really makes food your primary interest. And when I dieted, I thought I